Welcome to The Drop. You made it here again this week. Most of you know, but in case you don't, I am Karina, and I'm actually here this week by myself. So the drop's going to be a little different this week. My dad is actually going to visit my grandma, his mom, with my mom. So they actually just left this week. And so I'm here today. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I say that, but I guess we'll see. But I still wanted to just kind of bring something to you guys this week to encourage you this week. And I know our last couple episodes, we've kind of been talking about, like those dreams and those visions. And those are super important to have in our lives. And the really cool thing about dreams and visions is that I strongly believe that God births us with these desires, these natural talents or tendencies, or maybe you might even call them like a bend, where you have an interest in something, or there's just these things that excite us. And those, I believe, are given to us as gifts from God to enhance our lives, to enjoy life, to help but challenge us, to encourage us to do something. And I'm a really strong believer that we're all made to create something because we're made in God's image, right? And God is a creator because he created us. He created the world, the universe. And so we all have this desire in us to create something. Maybe you're not like crafty create, but we all have something in us that God's given us to create something. And so I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about that today and how, try to encourage you to create, to dream, to follow those dreams, those visions, as we've kind of been talking about. And I kind of want to share something that I've been going through because, I think a lot of times, I know for me personally, I can learn a lot from people's experiences and from their stories. And so in regards to dreams and visions, there's been something in my life personally that I've kind of been not struggling with in a bad way, but kind of wrestling with in a good way over the last couple years about something I've had a desire to do, which is to write. I love to write, and it's just something that I've always enjoyed, and I've kind of been feeling, like, man, I would like to write. I'd like to write. And so it's something that this year I kind of put action to, which I'm going to kind of talk about that process as well, kind of begin to just put action to just to actually do something with this dream, right? And so what I'm doing is on my personal social media, just, like 3 times a week is my goal. My tangible goal is to just write something that comes to me. Sometimes it comes to me just while I'm shopping at Target, or I'm sitting in my quiet time and I'm thinking and I'm just dwelling on life or whatever. And it's just to write these encouraging things, to write them down and to post them, just to encourage people. And and it's something that I'm really enjoying doing. It is a challenge because I have given myself a form of accountability, like, okay, this is what you're going to do. But what's cool is seeing the fruition of action actually taking form into something that I've kind of dreamt about or I've just desired to do. And so one of the quotes that I recently wrote was something that has been really good for me, and I've actually been dwelling on it pretty often. And it just goes like this. It says, appreciate yesterday, show up for today, and adjust for tomorrow. And I'll say that one more time. Appreciate yesterday, show up for today, adjust for tomorrow. And I think this obviously applies to so much in life, just everyday life it applies to, but I think it really applies a lot to following those dreams or going after that vision that you have for your life. Because the first part, appreciate yesterday, and I chose that word super specifically, appreciate yesterday. Yesterday kind of resembles our past, right? Yesterday's behind us because we're in today. We're always living in today. We're never living alive in yesterday or in the next day. We're always living and breathing in today. So when we can appreciate our yesterday, that means that we can look back and we can say, what about yesterday? Whether it's literally the actual day that's yesterday, like if today is Wednesday and yesterday was Tuesday, what can I appreciate about Tuesday? Or if it's looking even further back and saying, what can I appreciate about all my yesterdays? You know, what have my yesterdays done to bring me to today? How have they helped form me today? And I think, you know, a lot of times looking back on your past, quote unquote, has like a negative connotation. And yeah, it can be, because we do want to look forward and go forward. But I think that there is also a lot of value in that past. Even if it's a bad past, you can still appreciate the good that you learned out of that bad situation or that bad day. You know, I can't tell you how many times as a mom, especially, where I have ended a day and I have just kind of looked at myself in the mirror and been like, today was not your best work as a mom. It wasn't your best day. We don't want this day to be put on TV ever, right? And so, you know, sometimes you just have this moment where you're like, I'm so glad that this day is over, you know, but then there's still something I can learn and appreciate from that day, even if it was super terrible. And then that kind of goes into that last part of the quote, which I'll talk about here in a couple minutes, but it's making those adjustments. So my point here, and what I want to encourage you to think about is, what can I appreciate from my yesterday? Again, whether it's literal yesterday or whether it's your whole past yesterday. And take those things from your yesterdays and give value to them and let it push you in the direction that you want to go. Let it push you to be the person you want to be, because we can always learn from our yesterday. And this is going to kind of date me a little bit, but I think most of you listening probably will get this. But it always reminds me of that quote from The Lion King when Rafiki hits Simba on the head, right? You know what I'm talking about. He hits him on the head, and then Simba's like, "Oh man, that hurt." And then the little crazy monkey, he's like, "Hey, it doesn't matter. It's in the past." But then he goes to hit him again, and Simba ducks his head, and he doesn't get hit. And so then he tells him, "Hey, the thing here is you want to learn from it. Learn from that past. Learn from that yesterday." Because there's value in it. Whether it's a good yesterday or a bad yesterday, there's value in it. So ask yourself that, and ask yourself that often. Okay, what can I learn from yesterday? What can I appreciate from yesterday? Maybe it's just that, you know, I woke up early and I did my workout and I ate healthy, and I am going to appreciate that about myself, or whatever it might be, but appreciate it, because it is important to appreciate the good things too. And also to learn to appreciate not all the bad that happened, but the good things you can apply from the bad maybe that did happen, if that makes sense. So appreciate yesterday. Show up for today. This is such a huge one for me that I'm actually really trying to work on this year in my life, because I think for me, this showing up for today is like telling me, be present in this moment. Be present in this day. Be present with this person. Be present in this emotion. Be present in this situation. Just learn to be present. It is so easy to dwell on the past, and it is really easy to think, well, what's next? What's for tomorrow? And those are both good things with balance, right? But they're not good when it takes away from your today, and when you can't enjoy your today, and when you can't be content with today. And like this thing that we're talking about, going after dreams and visions and all of that, like it is super important to be future focused, but I think it's also super important to be present in your today, because today is the actual day that you are living that you never get back. Think about that. Today is the actual day that you're living that you never get back. And at the end of the day, when you lay down and you go to sleep and you wake up, this day is gone. This day that you're living in is gone. It has become your yesterday. And so I think being present goes in a lot of directions. You know, sometimes it's as simple as like putting your phone down and being present with your kids, or putting your phone down and being present with your spouse or with a friend or with a conversation, or even just being present with your life. Sometimes the phone, I think, can distract us so much and pull our attention away so much, even just from soaking in life and what life might bring us for this present day. Sometimes it might look like you having to be super intentional with forgetting your yesterday and appreciating it, but letting it be yesterday and just enjoying today. And then for some of us, it might look like to stop striving so much for that tomorrow that it is robbing you from enjoying your today and from enjoying whatever today might bring. And I think part of, for me, showing up for today is also learning to be intentional with my today. Okay, what do I want to see happen today? What needs to get done today? Sometimes it's just super practical things, okay, well, I need to work. I need to clean the lawn, do the laundry. I need to make sure I do this errand. I got to get this done. There's this very practical side of showing up for today that is sometimes not super fun, right? But let's be real. Like we have to adult. We have to be responsible and do responsible things. But showing up for today and being intentional with that, I think it also is affected by how you lived your yesterday, right? Because if we're going to appreciate our yesterday and learn from our yesterday, hopefully it affects our today. And that is kind of, like the next part of this whole quote: appreciate yesterday, show up for today, and adjust for tomorrow. This adjusting for tomorrow, when you wake up the next day, make adjustments based on what you learned from yesterday and what you can appreciate from yesterday, and make those adjustments, because that's how change happens. That's how motion happens. That's how growth happens for you in your life. Whether it's a very simple thing or whether it's a big thing towards one of your dreams or some of the vision that you have for your life. If you never make adjustments, and get this is huge. It's been huge for me. If you never make adjustments based on what you've learned, like going back to that story with Simba and Rafiki, right? It's so funny. Then you don't actually grow and you don't actually change in the way that you want to. You won't actually achieve your dreams. You won't actually go after your vision, because adjustments are those little tweaks and turns that you have to do once you experience something and you're like, okay, that was really great, but I think I should make this little adjustment here to make it even better. Or, okay, tried that. It was a total complete fail. It did not work at all. So I need to make some huge adjustments here. And I have kind of a funny story of something that I'm doing right now, because our middle daughter, Grace, she's about to turn 10. She's going into double digits. I can't believe it. It's crazy. It's not old at all, but it's just like when your babies start getting older, it's weird. But no, we're excited. So her birthday's coming up. So I told her, okay, what do you want to do for your birthday? Long story short, she wants to have a little slumber party with her two best friends that live right next door to us, which is awesome. And so I'm like, okay, cool. It's only 3 girls. I'm going to make this super fun because I'm the fun mom. At least I try to be the fun mom. So I'm like, I can build little tents so that they can all have like a little tent to sleep in. Each have their own little tent. We'll set it out in the living room, and it'll be so cute and so bougie and so fancy, and everyone's going to have the best time. So of course I committed to doing that, and I was like, basically, I found this idea online, and I was like, yes, I can totally do this super easy. So I start doing it, and then the lady who did it online was like, okay, you need a nail gun for this and that. And I'm like, I don't have a nail gun. So I'm like, okay, I don't have a nail gun, so I'm going to use screws. So I just like found these random screws, and then they ended up being too big, and they were splitting the wood, and it was just like this whole thing. And so basically my point is that as I was going along, I had to make adjustments. Now, if I would have just said, the screw that I'm using is totally ruining the wood, but I'm just going to keep doing it, and I'm going to hope that eventually it doesn't ruin it. Right? How insane would that be? But pause for a minute How many times do we sometimes do that in our real actual life, right? We're like, this isn't giving me the results I want, but I'm going to keep doing it. This is not giving me the results I'm looking for, but I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to hope that the result is different, right? It's like insanity, but I get it because I've been there. Sometimes you get stuck in this rut or this motion, but it's important to stop, evaluate, and adjust accordingly. And if you want to achieve a certain thing or go after a certain dream or whatever it might be, a goal, you have to be willing to evaluate yourself and make adjustments. And if I just kept building all these little tents with all this wood with these screws that weren't working, I was going to ruin everything. There's a lot more to the story. I tried liquid nails. That also wasn't working. And so anyways, with the help of, a couple of people, I figured out a good solution. And I made the adjustments I needed. And it took more time than I wanted it to. But I figured it out and I nailed it. And we have tents for our slumber party. And my daughter is going to be so excited. Right? But there's a lesson here for us, for our lives, that's so good. And I'm going to back up real quick to something I just said. It took a lot longer than I expected it to and than I wanted it to, but I was willing to make the correct adjustments to make sure that it actually happened. And so many times it will take longer than you want it to. It's going to take longer than you think, especially when we're talking about going after your dreams or fulfilling a vision that you have for your life. It's just accept that it's going to take longer. It's going to take longer and it's going to be harder than you think. But if you're willing to make adjustments, you're willing to stick with it, you're willing to be committed, it's going to happen for you. And so that's why it's super important to make those adjustments. Make those adjustments for tomorrow. And you'll continue to see yourself going the direction you actually want to go to achieve that dream or that goal or that small project or that big thing, whatever it is, but be willing to make those adjustments. And, something that I'm learning with this whole thing that I'm doing with my writing is, it is important to process a dream in the way that you need to process it. Like going back to appreciating yesterday, I've been talking about writing for a really long time. Talked about it, I've shared it with friends, like, yeah, I think I might want to write, and then a couple of my friends are like, you really should. Anytime you write anything, it's so inspiring, or I really enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. Talking is good. But it's not good if you just stay there. But that's a part of what I can appreciate about my yesterday. Because if I never talked about it, then I would have never actually put it out into the universe, right? So it's important to process all of it. But it is very important to make sure that you actually are making those adjustments to see those things happen that you want to happen. And so one of the adjustments I had to make from learning from all of my yesterdays with this dream I have or this goal of writing was to actually structure something for me to make it happen. And that was an adjustment, because I would say oh, okay, I'm just going to write. And then it would just kind of never happen because it was very floaty out there in space, like this, maybe one day. And so I realized okay, I'm not actually doing it until I'm doing it. So how can I make sure that I do it? And for me, I had to make a small, tangible little thing that I could do and that I felt I can manage that. I can actually achieve that. And so what that was for me is I said, okay, I'm going to write something 3 times a week. And to help myself be accountable, I'm going to post it. And the hopes of posting is just that it encourages someone, but it's also to help me stay structured and stay on top of this thing that I really want to do and to make these tangible adjustments and things that I can actually reach and attain to make sure that I'm working towards that dream and towards that goal. So I encourage you to find what that is for yourself. Whatever your dream is, your vision, your goals this year, find what that is for you to make those small, tangible adjustments so that you can reach those things, that you can achieve what's in your heart to do that is, I promise you, most likely just given to you by God, and you're going to have some fulfillment there. So here's what I challenge you to do, as I am challenging myself to do with this whole concept. This week, ask yourself these 3 things. Number 1, what can you appreciate about your yesterday? Again, whether it's literal yesterday or your yesterdays. What can you appreciate about it? What can you learn from it? The second thing is, what can you show up for? And how can you be present in your present day that you're living? Be present and soak in all of that what that day has to bring to you and what you have to bring to that day, and be intentional with that. So what can you appreciate? What can you show up for? How can you be present? And then the third thing is, what needs to be adjusted? That is probably one of the most important questions of this little quote, is what can I adjust? Maybe it's that you need to be more positive. Maybe it's that you need to wake up 10 minutes earlier. Whatever it is, depending on what you're trying to achieve, be willing to make those adjustments, because when it all boils down to it, you are the one who's going to make sure that you reach those goals and dreams. Nobody else. It's on you. So be willing to make those adjustments, and you're going to see the fulfillment that comes to you when you're willing to do these 3 things: appreciating your yesterday, being present in your today, and adjusting for your tomorrow. So that's what I have for you this week. I hope that it just gives you a little encouragement and strength and some things to think about, some things to practice. I know I am working on practicing these things as well. So I just want to encourage you in that. But thank you guys so much for stopping in and listening or watching here at The Drop. And if you'd like to, feel free to share this episode with a friend and encourage them, and give it another listen if you need to help you process this concept here. And I'm just going to close and read this quote one more time. Appreciate your yesterday, show up for today, and adjust for tomorrow. So have fun doing that this week, and we will be back next week here at The Drop. We'll see you guys next Wednesday.